There we go. I was like, what is wrong with my camera? All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. See here. All right. Hi. Let's see. Thank you so much for hopping on this morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending where you're tuning in from. Let me silence my cell phone. Here we go. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend. Um, Let me see a couple things. Wanted to show you actually, real quick, a couple books that I got over the weekend. Used books, but very excited about them. Um, because I believe I have mentioned it before, but there's been some shifts. But basically, I have been for a few years now, I've been building up a list of different plants um, that I broke up into columns. So originally it was like a Google sheet, kind of like an Excel sheet of like 20 columns because it's like the plant's name, other common names, its scientific name right now, then its previous scientific names. That's a whole other thing. Um, so due to genetic testing, um, every couple years we're kind of restructuring this kind of phylogeny of plants. So this kind of tree of life of plants is being restructured because they're like, oh, this plant actually isn't related to these. It's its own family, and this is all the plants it's related to. So little by slowly, we have been making those changes because a lot of plants were grouped based on how they look, um, sometimes seed dispersal methods, flower similarities, things of that nature. Um, and but sometimes that's just a result of what is called convergence. So it's just that two plants kind of went through that same pathway of, tried and true methods of survival, and then they end up looking very similar, but they actually have no relation whatsoever. So basically that whole thing is being restructured. So I have a list of any previous um scientific names because this is relevant. So sometimes I have books, for instance, like families of plants that is from like the 70s. I have books that date on botany that date back into the late 1800s and early 1900s. So they're talking about these plants, right? And how they're used or their ecology, but they're using old names. And so I wanted to build like a reference guide that has all this information on there. But then I also added things like what they can be used for, how they grow, how you harvest them, where do they grow, uh, any like cultural or folkloric type of things. So some plants are thought to be very like spiritual, so they're thought to be associated with certain gods in certain religions, in colors, numerology, astrological signs, like things like that. So it's been like 7 years that I've been building that up, and I had gotten up to 1,300 plants on my list, and yeah, and then, COVID happened. So I haven't really been adding to that list as much. And I was trying then to figure out, well, how can I put it into a really cool system? And so now that I've been playing with the website redesign for Herbalist Without Borders, I have learned things that I'm doing on my site, but then I'm also going to be echoing it actually on Herbalist Without Borders as well. Um, so that they have a directory as well, um, for folks all around the world, right? And so I get really excited when I get more reference books because this is helping me build up my list. And I actually found this used book, and it's called The Herb Book. And it says the most complete catalog of nature's miracle plants ever published, with over 2,000 listings of different plants. Um, some of them have drawings. So they're very simple. It's a thick book, but it's very simple. It's not, pages and pages of information. It's like you'll see like maybe a full page or a half page of information on these plants. But what I was really excited about is I was thumbing through and looking at the types of plants that they are covering, and I saw a whole thing on euphorbia. So there were like six or seven euphorbia species. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Hold on. I felt that one coming. I was like, oh, I had like a tickle on my nose, and I was like, yep, I'm about to sneeze. Um, but yes, and a bunch of euphorbia. There's even things on like different house plants, basically. Yeah, I know I caught a cold this weekend. There was just I we had like a bunch of celebrations. So we were celebrating someone's birthday on Friday, and then on Saturday we did two baby showers in one day. It was a brunch baby shower and then an evening baby shower. And then yesterday was another friend's birthday. And so I'm like, I know I woke up like sniffling. So like I was like probably the most amount of people I've been around in a really long time. Um, but yeah, there's a bunch of house plants in here. Uh, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to add these to this list. I mean, there's some that I've never even heard of. Yes, yes, Since let me hold up the book cover. It's kind of it's very light because it's orange and then they made the writing red, so it's not the best. But it's called like The Herb Book by John Lust, Lust, and it's a thick little book. Um, I just put my finger here because I wanted to show you something here, but yeah, like so this is The Herb Book. Um, so hopefully, I don't know if you can see it. When I see it, it's backwards. So I'm never sure how it's showing to other people. But yes, because another book I found, so I'll be adding a bunch of these to that list. So I'm really excited because that's gonna beef up my list. Because again, I have 1,300 currently. There's over 2,000. There's 2,000 in this one. Of course, I have seen plenty that I already have on my list, but there's a lot that I don't have on my list. And this isn't the only reference guide. I'm going to be kind of going through and adding to my list. So, um, I have well over, I want to say, I have like at least 25 to 30 reference guides that are just like this, where it's just a reference guide, like no less than 30 I must have. So, yeah, slowly, little by slowly, those are being added to the list, and that is something I'm going to offer to my students. But then I'm also going to be sharing that and offering it through Herbalists Without Borders because I feel like that will be helpful to our members. So yeah, so it'll be mirrored. So I'll be donating that to Herbalists Without Borders to share that out. But yeah, another book that I found is this one. But yesterday I had put this leaf in it because does anybody recognize this leaf? If you do, you can drop the guess in the chat. But I just thought it was just so perfect and so golden. So I already put a new leaf into my new book, my new used book. So if you ever come over and check out my books, the majority of our books here have leaves in them. So so don't be surprised if you were to open a book and leaves or flowers, pressed flowers come out. Um, but that was a good guess. That was a good guess, Sin. Um, good guess. It does look very similar to a maple leaf, but this one is not a maple. So this one is a sweet gum. So sweet gum, liquid amber, it's Styraciflua. Let me liquid, yeah. Liquid amber Styraciflua. Um, but see, like this as an example, right? So here it's showing the leaves, it's showing these little seed balls. If you've ever seen, if you have seed gums, oh my gosh, sweet gums, in your neighborhood or on your property, you might have seen those little balls. They're very spiky and they end up kind of everywhere in the fall. Uh, and what's really actually cool about them is I learned a couple years ago that those seeds were being studied for their anticonvulsive properties. So as a potential extract to use in with patients who have epilepsy. I haven't followed up on that possibility though. So I that reminds me I need to do that. But yeah, it was like there was just talk about them starting to be studied for that. So I wonder if there was any, results of that. But it's super cool. It's talking about here like the properties and uses. It's it is it so that's why it's called liquid amber. I mean, the color is like an amber color, but also it was considered like liquid gold. It has so many things. Even like Tamiflu, if I'm not, I think it's Tamiflu, was actually derived. One of the active ingredients in Tamiflu is something that was found in the sap of sweet gum trees. So here it says even properties and uses: antiseptic, astringent, expectorant. So expectorant is it loosens up like mucus in the lungs. It kind of makes you kind of cough things out, have more of a productive cough. Um, Maple, what are you doing? Maple just jumped on my on my desk. Um, and the sweet gum has the antiseptic properties, which have made it effective external medication as well for wounds and skin problems. And it's usually made into an ointment with lard or oil. Also used as a decoction of leaves or roots as a wash to treat injuries for coughs and respiratory congestion due to colds. The gum, so like that sap, that like the resin, can be taken to promote expectoration, and the bark of the sweet gum, so it's like so many parts that you can use, and the bark of the sweet gum has been used to relieve diarrhea and dysentery. So what I love is that it's really kind of breaking down how all the parts can be used. Some books don't do that. They might just say, because I have lots of books that talk about sweet gum, and some of them it's like a line, or um maybe they'll mention like the sap, but they don't mention the leaves. So I like that this one kind of broke down the different parts that you can use and how you can use them. So, where can you purchase sweet gum? Gosh, sweet gum trees are readily available. They are a native tree to the United States, especially like the East Coast. Um, so you can find them in nurseries. Um, I'm not sure if they sell sweet gum kind of as a supplement. That I don't know. Like if you can buy it in capsules or kind of like ready to use rather than the plant itself. That I'm not sure. Uh, but but I know you would be able to find it like in a nursery or things like that. Um, Yes, and Holly, yes, that's another problem, being able to find the herbs. Yes. And so I mean there's lots of suppliers, but then it's also finding out, well, the quality of the supplier as well. Sometimes it's really good if you have local community gardens. That's one thing. Also something to consider is that there are places that offer seed grant programs. So for instance, like Herbalists Without Borders, we offer seed grant programs, but there's also other things like in New York, they actually have the New York Public Library, which is something I'm hoping to tap into is they actually have a seed library as well. So sometimes certain community organizations like libraries or food pantries might be kind of hosting a seed library, and you would be able to take advantage. So sometimes those might include medicinal herbs, to check that out. But yeah, there's a really great book called oh my gosh, The Business of Botanicals. I want to say that that's the name of the book, The Business of Botanicals, and I think it's Anne Armbecht, something like that. It's Anne. Um, but basically, it actually talked, that was eye-opening for me. It actually talked about this business of herbal supplements and how you have to be very mindful of who you're ordering from, because sometimes the herbs you're ordering aren't even the herbs that they're being advertised as, which is very dangerous. Sometimes also the quality is very poor. Like she was saying like she was following kind of the supply chain, and so she was literally going around the world, and so she would see like certain, let's say the herbs were being grown in China, but then they weren't being packaged there. They were harvested, and then let's say they were shipped to India, and then in India, that's where they were being like dried and crushed and put into bags. But then, like, from there, it was being shipped over to, like, let's say, to the US, to after it was packaged to be labeled. Like, it was like things like that. It was just this jumping around where the material itself was kind of going around the globe. And a lot of herbs, I want to make sure that everyone's aware that after a certain amount of time, they can lose their potency, especially if they are powdered. So if you get something that's already powdered, it has more surface area exposed to the air, and it actually oxidizes fairly quickly. And so usually if you're using powdered herbs, you let's say the best scenario is to use them within 2 to 3 months, but at the most between like 5 to 6 months. Um, After that point, they start to lose their smell, they make it lose their potency. So especially if you're trying to make, let's say, like a very standardized blend, um, and if you don't know when that material was pulverized, then it's not as standardized. Um, So I do recommend getting your own herb grinder and things like that. So like getting your own material kind of whole, it can be dried, but then waiting to pulverize it until you need to pulverize it. So just to preserve shelf life a little longer. But yeah, that was like eye-opening. I did not realize the dynamics at play there. Um, so that I do really, really recommend that book. She also did a whole talk about it. I think it's on the American Botanical Council site. I will look for it. I'll look for it, and I can post it up on the Facebook page. But I do think it's on the American Botanical Council's website. But yeah, like just love this kind of stuff. Um, and oh yes, Priscilla, yes. It's the Herb Book by John Lust. By John Lust, and there's over 2,000 plants in here. And I was getting really excited because there's a bunch of plants that are house plants, and so that made me super excited. And in the back, it has like all, like the indexes, but it has the alphabetical list of all the herbs that are talked about, and then it has the all the Latin botanical names, and it has recipes as well. So it's like a neat little book. It talks also about like vitamins, ways of preparing them, uh, scent, dyeing. So like using plants to dye, to like dye textiles like clothes and stuff. So what colors that they would make, and the best material to use it on. So for instance, it says you would use young shoots of blackberry, I have a couple books on using plants to dye, like to make color, like for the colors, and I'm adding that to my list. So I want to make my list very, very packed full of information. So it's just information I've gathered over the years. So again, like how to use them. I even have books on like First Peoples, so like First Nations peoples and how they were using plants traditionally. Um, I just ordered a book about Korean herbalism that just came out, and I just ordered one that's like just general Asian American herbalism. I have a book on African herbalism. So yeah, I've been trying to like collect these herbalism books from around the world so that I can kind of add more and more information, more well-rounded information that will be people, helpful to everyone. But yeah, so like blackberry, you take the young shoots, so this is the young growth. It makes a light gray color apparently, and the best material to use is wool, and in this case, it would recommend that you add alum as an additive to make the color stick. So not all of these dyes require you to use an additive, but some of them do. So it's super, super cool that you can use this. Oh, dandelion. So apparently you can make magenta using dandelion, the entire plant can be have a magenta color extracted from it that can be used with wool. That's cool. I did not know that. Ginkgo is more of a whitish brown. You can use the inner bark on cloth. So it's super, super cool. I really, really like this. Um, Ooh, Lily of the Valley. My neighbor across the street has Lily of the Valley, and that's my birth flower because I was born in May. Um, and so every time I see it in the neighborhood, I'm always like, ah, yay! And I love how it smells. But it has fruit, so it finally has fruit. They have these little white flowers. They're very poisonous, by the way, just so that don't try to eat the berries. But then after the flower is fertilized, they produce these little red berries, and they look really cute. But definitely don't eat them. But yeah, young leaves. Oh wow, and the autumn leaves produce so the young leaves will produce a yellow to greenish yellow color on wool, but autumn leaves will produce a gold color on wool. So see, like things like that. I love, so there's so much information packed into this little book, and I'm really excited to add it to my list. So yeah, that was this one. Um Oh, does it list pokeweed? That's a good one. I like pokeweed. I have stained my fingers with pokeweed. Um, let me see here. Poke. I see privet. Come on, bee. Pokeweed, yes. Using so Phytolacca americana. Using the fruit to dye wool red. So it works best on wool, and it can make a really nice red color. Oh, and poinsettia too, which is a euphorbia. For those that didn't know, poinsettia is a euphorbia. And yeah, euphorbia, pulcherima. Pulcher, usually like that root word, that Latin root means very pretty. So you might see like a pulchra or pulcherissima, pulcheria, like that. And it's usually like that pulcher is usually means that the plant is very pretty. And that's the specific epithet. So the second half of the botanical name, that's what it means. And so it's a very pretty. If poinsettias are those red, they look like red flowers that you see all around Christmas time. Like they look really crazy. But those red petals, they're actually not petals. They're bracts. And the real flower is in the center, and it's a cluster of really teeny tiny flowers. Um, But I love euphorbia. I collect a lot of euphorbias. And yeah, poinsettia is in there, and you can use, it says the flower bracts, so those what we look and go, oh, those look like petals. You can actually use them also for that red coloration, and that it works best on wool. uh so super cool, super cool. um Ooh, Suzanne, I used it on nylon rope and it turns gold. I was so surprised by the color. Oh, that's awesome. Yes, it's so great. Holly, back in the day before and during 1969, herbs were very well distributed and fresher. Then something happened to the market. Yeah, yeah. It's just nuts. Um, oh, Priscilla, cool. Where can we find the list? Yes. So, as I'm finishing these, final, like a final push, then it's gonna be going live. So, yeah. So then once I have, once I have it up and transferred into like a web thing, because right now it's like an Excel sheet, it's like a Google sheet, and so I'm gonna be importing it. So I'm putting a bunch more information in there, and then I'm importing it into a template online, and then so it'll look really nice. Um, but yes, it's gonna come. So I'm really excited about that. Uh, because then yes, I can add that. I can add all of these. So yeah, that book, and then I found this other book. And so I'm born and raised here in New York. So I'm a northeastern person. But I would really like. I get a lot of questions from people that are living down south. And when I saw this book, I said, I need to get this one. So it's Gardening with Native Plants of the South. Really beautiful. I love these kind of covers that are just like super glossy. Um, and it's really pretty. And I like that they actually have pictures. They have pictures of the plants. And then it's like a little broken down into columns basically, but it does list things like, of course, their lighting needs, names, how high they get, the spacing that you should use preferably. Um, so for instance, there is a turkey oak. There's actually quite a couple turkey oaks in Central Park, actually. Um, they they're right around the Jackie Onassis Reservoir. And I love collecting their acorns because they have very elongated acorns, and it looks really funny. But they were purposely planted there. I think they planted like three or four to kind of bump up the variety of oaks that they had, and they ended up being very successful. And they continued to propagate themselves, and so now there's quite a group of turkey oaks that are surviving here in our New York City winters. So I like turkey oak. I think they look really neat. Um, but it's saying that, yeah, the leaves are chartreuse in the spring, dark green and glossy in the summer, red in the fall. I love that. I love that it's telling you all that. Their native range: sandhills, oak scrub, post oak woods, coastal plain from southeastern Virginia to eastern Louisiana, zones 7 to 10. Drainage dry, root system deep. Companion plant. So it also lists companion plants: longleaf pine, uh, sand live oak. I don't know this one. It's showing a couple of oak varieties. So it's saying Q incana, Q because it's Quercus is the botanical name. Q margarita, Q Marylandica. These I do not know, these oak species. There's so many oaks. Oh my God. I love oaks, but there's a lot of oaks. Eastern persimmon, black gum, reindeer moss, sandhill rosemary. Um, they propagate in the fall. They're fresh acorns in the fall, and the wildlife eats these acorns. Usually the red cockaded, I don't know, woodpecker, while turkeys and blue jays are the ones that are primarily feeding on these specific acorns. That's another fact. So this looks like it's in the red oak family. So there's red oaks and yeah, red oaks. There's red oaks and white oaks. And so basically red oaks, they tend to drop their acorns in the fall, but they need to stratify. They need that cold period. Um, yeah, and oh, sorry, Sam. Try holding the book up. Sorry. Um, but yeah. Um, oh my gosh, where was I? Oh yes. And so then breaking up they end up they need to go to a stratifying period, which is a cold period, and so they don't actually start to germinate until the next year. But white oak family trees do actually um go into uh they like immediately drop their acorns and they immediately start germination. They go into like growth immediately. But white acorns are less bitter than the red oaks, and like the red oak acorns. And so the white acorns are eaten a lot faster. And so what ends up happening is, yeah, um, folks, like the wildlife, that's why you see that there's like a disparity. You don't find that many white oaks. You find a lot more red oaks because those are very bitter and they're kind of a last resort for wildlife when they're hungry. Um, but yeah. Oh, and it's um, Wazowski. Sally Wazowski. Um, so really good one. Oh, thanks, Holly. Yes, trying. I'm definitely feeling the sniffles. Um, but yeah, this is beautiful. It talks about like different types of plants. If you want, let's say, a creeper like that to kind of have ground cover, so plants that you should go with. Um, yeah, it's beautiful. I really like it. I'm excited. Oh, there's a whole section on ferns too. So excited to take a deep dive into the book and meet some new species because again, I have been down south a few times, but not long enough to really, get in there and start to kind of know these. Oh, bloodroot. Bloodroot is actually a what's it called? An herb. And so they're showing it here. So those are the flowers and leaves. I love the leaf. It has like such a funky looking leaf. Um, but yeah, that's so neat. So yeah, all of that. So these are being added to that list too. So so what I'm doing is I'm trying to add these plants. So even here, it's not talking about their medicinal effects, um, but it's talking about their growth and stuff. So I do want to add them regardless. And then let's say I find another book that tells me more about the medicinal qualities of those plants. I already have them on the list. I just have to kind of fill in the information. So that's the goal, is to basically just add all of these plants that are mentioned. And then, yeah, uh just keep adding. And so then, maybe once a month or so, maybe once every 2 months, I'll kind of accumulate all these updates and kind of upload them and let folks know that there's an update. um Yes, Holly, some herbs should list all of their specialized uses, like yes, and building material, basket weaving, making other products like rope. Yes, and that's on my list. So I have like cultural uses, economic uses as well. That's already on my list. So there are things like guar gum. I had learned that that's actually used a lot in like construction and in mining and things like that. Like it's like an emulsifier, um and so it's used in so many different ways. So yeah, there's stuff that's used as building material, stuff that's used in I have another book that was talking about different woods and what they're used for. So like I think it was ash trees were being used for making like bats. Like they were known for making like a baseball bat. Um, and I think it was chestnuts were favored for things like vanities and wardrobes, cabinets, type of thing like that. So yeah, I have a whole book on that. So that yes, adding all of that stuff is being added there. So I'm really excited. Yes, yes, I do need a team. I definitely need a team. I mean, hey, if anybody would be interested, I mean, technically, so what I've been doing is, in the background when I have like a couple minutes of time, what I end up doing is I try to find PDF versions of my books, um, so my physical books, because then it's easier for me to like, search the document for the plant. And I don't like copy verbiage from the books. I just kind of read what the paragraph is about, and then I write it in my own words, because I'm sourcing the information from the books, but I'm not copying like exactly what it says. Um, so if anybody would be interested, I mean, I have a whole bunch of ebooks that I have not gone through yet. And if this is like a project that tickles your fancy, let me know. And then yeah, like we could kind of create like a remote team, and we can like assign books to different people. And if you want to help, sure. I mean, that's and of course you would get recognition. I'm gonna add like a page with all the resources that were cited. And that were kind of like came together to form the project. And then of course anybody, if anyone wants to help, so you just let me know, and we can totally do that. Yes, and Suzanne, yes, and I have one column for lookalikes. Yes, because that is something that comes up. Yes, especially for a lot of herbs. It's very, very important to know lookalikes. And I'm trying to add mushrooms to that list too. So I have quite a couple reference guides on mushrooms, and I'm gonna add them. I was originally thinking about doing it separately, but then I thought, well, in the majority of cultures, because some cultures separate them, like mushrooms is not considered an herb, but in some cultures, mushrooms are considered an herb. And I think, here, at least in the States with Western herbalism, um, mushrooms are considered an herb. So I think I'll include them. So yeah, that there's a lot of lookalikes for mushrooms. So yeah, so that's going. Um, then I got this other used book. So all used books, $2, which I was very happy about. But it's called Drugs of the Dreaming, and it's all about plants that were used traditionally for like dreaming, for hallucinogens, for this kind of psychoactive effect. I thought that was really interesting. I have read quite a couple books on things like ayahuasca, shamanism, and this was something that uh, was commonly used to kind of bring about these states of trance, whereby, like for instance, datura anoxia. Um, so it's like Jimson, like in the family with like Jimson weed and things like that. They would use that they would burn it and smoke it, things that it's very toxic. So, but they would be taking smaller amounts, like by smoking it, so they weren't necessarily eating it. Um, and then this would kind of cause them to kind of go in a trance-like state where they were hallucinating, but uh, the belief was that it was helping them bridge themselves from reality to the spiritual world. So it was being done for that purpose, because it kind of put them in this like limbo. Um, it's really interesting. And so when I saw this book and I saw that it also has lists and tables, I said, oh yeah, I'm adding this absolutely to my collection. Um, and what's awesome is it also tells you kind of like how the how it works, what chemicals are at play as well. So like what is happening inside the plant, um, what is happening, how was it figured out? So there's also like here, um, mandragora, that's mandrake root. So how was this plant, how was it figured out that it had this type of effect? Um, and it was traditional, it was used in kind of in that spiritual type of way already for a long amount of time, and so that's how it was figured out. Some of them, um, it's like they were found out through pharmaceutical means, like pharmaceutical testing. Some are anecdotal, so based on people writing about them. Um, some are used here, uh, anecdotal, traditional. Um, yeah, there's like all these. It's super cool, super, super cool. There's even some like opium substitute. It was used as a what is called an analog. So it was used, yeah, to kind of to substitute. So if you didn't have one version of the poppy, you could use a different type of poppy. Um, so this happens with certain plants where, like, oh, I don't have that exact plant, but I need something that would be similar enough. Yeah. So this is Drugs of the Dreaming by, oh, it's covered. Hold on. Because it's covered by the price tag thingy. There you go. Gianluca Toro and Benjamin Thomas. So yeah. So all about these plants that were used for this in this way. So yes, I was really excited to show you these and how I'm using them. So while I do, of course, just enjoy reading about plants in any way or form, whether it's like a book or a pamphlet, even a chart, anything you can give me, anything you can give me, I will check that out. Um, but yeah, now there's just so much information, so I really like these types of reference books because then it helps me with this mission. Another thing I want to do with these books too is a lot of them have these bibliographies, so where they themselves are also citing any references, any books that they may have gotten information from to make their list. And what I want to do is I'm gonna scan these so that I can make a basically a giant list of books, um, so that it's like a whole directory of plant books. I haven't read all of them, but I feel like that could be useful information to someone. So, um, so yeah, so just kind of scanning all of the bibliographies and having them, um, having the system scan them, kind of put them onto a list, and then I would just just make them alphabetical. But yeah, so I can add that. Um, Yes, Holly, yeah, very, very deep healing. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then the last book I wanted to show you, this was not a used book. This book hasn't even been published yet. This book I think is coming out tomorrow. So, HarperCollins, the publishing company, sent me this book. It's called Survive and Thrive: How to Prepare for Any Disaster Without Ammo, Camo, or Eating Your Neighbor. So, I started reading it yesterday. I'm gonna try to get as much read. Um, I mean, it's a nice amount of pages. It's almost 300 pages. So I'm gonna try to see how far I can get today and tomorrow so that I can put out a review on this book. And yeah, so that was pretty exciting. I'd never had anyone reach out uh to offer me, a chance to review a book before it like officially had come out. So they had to mail it to me, so it took a little bit more time to get to me. But I think it was coming out the 7th. I think so. So hopefully. But this is really cool. There are different like checklists, things to have, um, to be prepared, how to compost inside, indoors if you had to. There's 35 essential decluttering and storage hacks. There's what to do with paper records so that they are ready in the event of a disaster. Things that you should have in your car at the ready in case something were to happen. So this is about like natural disasters, anything, a blackout, anything that could potentially happen, and how to prepare yourself, your home, your family, even your vehicle. Basically, it says like keeping an emergency binder. So, kind of having everything in there where it's not only copies of all your governmental documentation, but also stamps, envelopes, postcards, um, copies of driver's licenses, blank paper with pens and paper, locations of emergency shelters, printed photos of family members and pets in case of separation. That's something we don't think about. Phone numbers for all different types of things, utilities, doctors, local hospitals, vets, pharmacies, your landlord, banks, school, local emergency helpline. So it really goes into what you should have, all these lists, things to also consider after an event, moisture and mold, for instance. So, after flooding, that's something that a lot of folks don't take into account. One thing that I learned too is if you have, for folks that are in areas for, oh yes, family fingerprints, that's a good one, Suzanne. Um, but for people who are in areas that are prone to tornadoes, um, the having shoes in your emergency shelter, like another set of shoes that you leave there, you never take them out. Because if you're in a rush and you run downstairs from your home into your shelter, your tornado shelter, and you're without shoes, the tornado can cause a lot of debris, glass, screws, all that type of stuff. And if you ran downstairs with no foot protection, that's actually something that comes into play is the need to have protection for your feet when you emerge from that emergency shelter. And I had never considered that. So it's just like a bunch of, it's stuff really to think about. So I'm excited. It also talks about making sure that your electrical systems, like if something were to happen, to turn off your gas, turn off your electricity, make sure you know where your breaker box is, choosing a generator. So things to keep in mind for different types of situations and different types of generators. What are the pros and the cons? How could they be bad in certain types of situations? It's pretty nuts. This book is pretty um comprehensive, I have to say. So it's even talking about safety and security and how to protect yourself. And if you had to fight for your life, uh points that you could, the most disastrous parts to inflict harm on. Um, it's pretty nuts, and it's talking here about like understanding your heat zones, um, and yeah, things to do after a tornado, things to do after a blizzard, a winter storm preparedness checklist, pandemic preparedness list. Oof, and that's yeah. I was actually very we were like very, very fortunate that Brian, when we were first kind of hearing about the pandemic, it was like still February, like not even March lockdown time here in New York, and where everyone all around the United States, where we went into lockdown in March. It was still the beginning of February, and Brian was like, I don't know. Let's stock up on canned food just in case, like what if they kind of they put us in quarantine or something, and we want to have some food ready, and he went and got like a bunch of canned food, like beans, and got rice and all this stuff that we had. We packed our pantry to the point where I had to put stuff like on other shelves. And I was very grateful for that, because then, yes, when we had lockdown, it lessened how often we had to, try to go and get groceries. Um, but it's just like stuff like that you don't really think about. So this is pretty cool. And this is called Survive and Thrive: How to Prepare for Any Disaster Without Ammo, Camo, and Eating Your Neighbors. I think it's a very funny title. Um, yes, yes, Holly. It says yes, but all the media that was out about the pandemic stated that the U.S. would not be prepared for that. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and who's the author? Bill Fulton and Jean Chilton Devon. So Bill Fulton and Jean Chilton Devon. So I'm not sure if it's out yet. So I know that they wanted me to do this to help promote the book. And I think they said it was coming out the 7th of November. So, but I had to wait for the book to be mailed to me. And so that took a little extra time. Um, so yes, I'm trying to kind of rush uh, to have it. So I'm hoping that it arrived in time. Even if it didn't, and they still want me to promote it, but I was hoping um to get it, you know, kind of have a review up in time. So let's see if that's a possibility. Um, but yeah, it even talks about like blood type, and so the percentage of the population that could use that. So I have oh man, I have A negative. So it says only 6% of the US population. Oof. Um, but yeah, I'm one of those types that if I get injured, like when I found out about my blood type, my doctor goes, "Yeah, you have a very uncommon blood type." I was like, "Oh, cool." And he's like, "Not cool?" I was like, not cool. And he's like, no, because if you get injured, if you're in a car accident or you get like a wound, a bleeding wound, you can only get O negative, or A negative. You can't, yeah, like so it's not blood that is usually in a lot of reserve. Like there's always a need for A negative. And so I was like, oh well, whoops. Uh, so that's not good. But I was like, oh, that's cool. And I will always remember that. He goes, nope, not cool. Um, but yeah, it just talks about like how all these percentages, and what you can donate to, who you can receive donations from. Um, it's pretty awesome. And it also talks about different resources you can get. So it's even saying like go on to FEMA, and FEMA apparently has an app, and that you can do that. It talks about all these websites that you can go and get information and checklists and things for babies, things to consider for children, saying 3 changes of clothing packed, prepared extra underwear and socks, stuffed animals, dolls, anything that will bring comfort, a couple books, handheld games, a blanket, a small pillow, batteries, chargers, power cords for phone and games, pencil, paper, and snacks, and just having a bag at the ready. Things to consider for the elderly and those with disabilities, a week's worth of medication, a medication plan, records of all types of medical devices used, including model numbers, medical alert bracelets, adult pull-ups, incontinence pads, denture care items, extra eyeglasses, batteries, small cooler, and cold packs in case any of the medication needs to be kept cool. Um, so there's like, if a wheelchair is used, think about using a small, more easily portable one available for emergency use. So things for pets. Yeah, it's super cool. Also, things to consider: cold weather bags, heat zone bags, wildfire bags, earthquake bags, storm banks for floods, hurricanes, tornadoes. So, and even types of clothing and how to layer, how to properly, yeah, um, dress and layer for different types of situations. But, oh, thanks, T. Yeah, I was like, oh, ah, gotta, gotta, gotta look, gotta look put together. I trimmed my hair this weekend, so it's a little short, and cut, cut the bangs a little bit. I was like, oh, let's cut this back a little bit. Um, but yeah, trying. But yeah, so I just wanted to tell you about this book because holy moly, um, super super helpful, like seriously super super helpful. And even things that are, there's even recipes at the end. So there's this one that's really funny, and it's called a fruit cake that never dies. So basically how to create kind of shelf stable items that would last a little bit longer than you would expect. um and just, and that you can actually it'll keep. So this type of cake, for instance, it'll keep um, for 3 months or even up to a year in proper storage. So DIY sourdough starter. Um, yeah, a bunch of sourdoughs. Sourdough pancakes, bone broth, sauteed dandelion greens. I love dandelions. Does anyone here um like dandelions? I love bitters, anything bitter. And dandelions I love, and I love making dandelion pesto. Um, and so any recommendation for using dandelion greens in anything is good in my book. It's even here. There's even things on how to things for what's it called? How to make cleaning, like what kind of cleaning products are good for different types of situations. So like it's saying JAWS stands for Just Add Water System. And it says that this full line of rainbow colored cleaners has products for glass, kitchen, hardwood floors, granites, daily shower cleaner, foaming bathroom cleaners, um, that are highly disinfectant. They also add an extra level of safety built into each pod, which will allow the release of the cleaner when the pod is in the bottle with the cap screwed on tight. Just find them at jawscleans.com. So then these are these little they're little pods basically that you then add to water. Um, so kind of having different cleaning products that you can have that will be shelf stable and will be, last for a long time. So pretty cool. Yes, Suzanne, dandelion blossoms used for jelly is supposed to be tasty. Oh yeah. Um, oh, absolutely. Dandelion blossoms are so good. Dandelion fritters are super yummy. Even dandelions, just kind of adding them to like a salad, is really, really nice. A lot. Those plants are so good. I love dandelion root tea. Yes, so Tea is saying I like dandelion tea. Yeah, love it, love it, love it. I was actually just sharing some dandelion root tea over the weekend. Um, and yeah, absolutely love it. It really yummy mixed with burdock. And I didn't know that that was actually a very common, yeah, a very common drink in the UK, apparently, burdock and dandelion root tea. Brenda, yes. Oh, no worries. Thanks for hopping on today. Just for hanging out today. Priscilla, yes, I used to drink lots of dandelion tea. Found out it's not good for acid reflux. Interesting. Um, so one thing is dandelion is actually, I would assume it's actually pretty good for acid reflux, just assuming, because so dandelion is a choleretic, a cholagogue. It's a choleretic, a cholagogue, and it's anti-bilious. So it basically does all three jobs. So if you're creating too much bile, it actually lessens production. It mellows out production. It will slow the production. If you don't make enough bile, then it works also as a choleretic, so it will actually help produce more bile. And then it's a cholagogue. Gog, if you ever see like the word gog, like cholagogue, galactagogue, gog means flow. So like with cholagogue, it's the bile flow. So cholagogue is if you're creating the right amount of bile, but your flow isn't very good in your body. And so a cholagogue can help with that flow. And so also with like galactagogue, that's for milk production. So like hops is a galactagogue for mothers that are breastfeeding. Um, but yeah, so dandelion tea tends to work, it works with your system to kind of optimize your bile flow and production or lessen it if it's in excess. Um, so sometimes, yeah, it can be the reflux. I'm wondering why it would be negatively impacted by the dandelion, but that's something for me to look into. But yeah. Can you show us some burdock? They sell it in Chinatown, but it has a different name. Yes, they sell it in China, and I know in Japanese stores it's called gobu. Gobu? I think it's gobu. Um, and so it's I don't have any dry dandelion root right now. I'm sorry, dandelion, burdock. Burdock root right now. Um, but yeah, I'll show you some in a second. I'll post up like I'll share my screen. Um oh yes, and Priscilla says I bought some at the Union Square Farmers Market. Yes. And so you can buy them fresh. You can also buy them in like these specialty shops, especially like Asian food stores that specialize in that. You might find them like super huge. So burdock roots that main tap root can get up to 6 feet long. And so, yeah, like it's huge. It's huge. They actually grow them in barrels for that type of production. So they grow them in these really tall barrels, and then they have like straps, and then they open them up, and it's easier for them to collect the root because otherwise, if let's say you were trying to dig the root out of the ground, you're gonna break it. There's no way to take it out intact. I mean, I think you would need heavy machinery. Um, and this is why it's not native to the United States, and so it's native to Asia. And so what happens is that it's considered a weed here. And when people try to remove it from their property, they're breaking it, the root. And then that's why it keeps coming back because there's still a chunk of root there. And so it'll keep coming back. Um, but I love burdock. Burdock is wonderful. Just do keep in mind, both burdock and dandelion are very cooling to the body, but burdock especially so. Burdock is great, works really well with the liver. Um, so and dandelion works really well, I believe, with the gallbladder. So I would say to be very mindful with burdock if you have a history of any kidney issues, or if you start using burdock and you start to get lower back pain. Um, it's burdock isn't something you want to take every day for a long period of time. So, um, it's just one, it can be very cooling. So if you're already cold, like I have a cold constitution, um, I'm always cold, always cold. So if I take a lot of burdock, it makes me feel colder. Um, if you start to feel lower back pain, like mid to lower back pain, it actually puts a lot of pressure on your kidneys. If you have no kidney issues or anything, it you might not feel that. But if you already have like compromised kidneys in any way, um, it can cause some of that pain. Because it's a really good diuretic that's making you urinate like a lot. So it's helping you like filter out um things and get them out in your urine, but at the same time, it's making them work. So you might start to feel some pain, and then that I would say is a very good indicator. If you start to feel way too cold, or you start to feel any like mid to lower back pain, just stop taking the burdock for a while. maybe consider switching to dandelion, especially if you are using it, let's say for water retention. Yeah. But yeah, yes, JS, it's become a healthy house. Yes, it's all plants. So yeah, think I mentioned to you all, but I got an offer to, so it's not the job offer necessarily, but rather an invitation to apply to a job. So that's what it is. But basically, the school, it's a university, and they're in another state, but the teachers can teach remotely. So to offer online classes. And so um so yeah, the I've been invited to um give some basically kind of what's it called? A pitch. There you go. Pitch some potential classes. So one of those classes I was actually thinking is like house plant for health. So basically, a lot of houseplants and talking about their medicinal qualities and members of their family that are highly medicinal. Um, and yeah, like and different things like even like snake plants, how they have been used. Um, Tradescantia zebrina is another plant that is used medicinally. Like snake plants, spider plants even. There's all these plants that are used medicinally, and a lot of house plants or they have like a really rich history. And so talking about that a little bit so I'm thinking that because then it bridges my herbalism and my love of keeping houseplants. So that's a potential class. Um, Holly, yeah, yeah. So they were used for the snake plants. They're toxic, but they were used to what's it called? To generate an emetic response. Emetic, like emesis, is something like when making someone throw up. Like I think it's called hyperemesis when someone's pregnant and they can't stop throwing up. Like it's really bad morning sickness, like to the point where they have to be hooked up to an IV because they like can't keep even water down. I think that's called hyperemesis. But yes, emetic means to make throw up, and so it's used in Central America very commonly, snake plants, to generate a throwing up like a vomit response, basically, um, for poisoning. So if, especially for pets, so if like a dog was poisoned, um, and the person is like aware that the dog is starting to show symptoms of being poisoned, and giving them uh, basically snake plant chopped up, and I think they put it in the blender, and then they make the dog or cat consume it to make them throw up. So they purposely are giving them some of that toxic plant to make them throw up another toxin. So it's just like these really cool kind of stories and histories and uses for these plants. So I was thinking that might be a one that I might do. Um, Maybe something on flower essences. I am a flower essence practitioner as well. I'm a flower essence therapist. So that's another thing. I want to teach more about that. I feel like I don't really talk much about flower essences. And so that's maybe a topic I might want to talk about. Um, Maybe community herbalism. Um, Someone is already doing like urban plants and herbalism, which is something I do. So I'm like, oh man, so somebody's already doing that there. Uh, but um, but yeah, like so thinking of topics, but I am kind of leaning towards bridging houseplants and herbal medicine and doing that as a topic for the university. But what's really cool is that I was told that the way the contract works is that any material that I make, I create, I keep. It's mine. So if I wanted to then, let's say I teach the class for the university, and then I no longer, offer it at the university, I can turn around and offer that class to anyone. So I could then teach it, to my own students. So I thought that was really cool. So that's one thing that's also very attractive about that offer. Is that one I can teach at a university, which is super cool. But then I can also keep that class that I create, and then I can teach it. So so yeah. Um yes, Holly's is just the use of using snake plants makes me want to vomit. Yeah. Priscilla, I need to know where they sell flower essences. I can't find them anymore. Oh yeah. So uh the Flower Essence Society. I would also check if you have any supplement stores in your area. So a lot of supplement stores are starting to carry flower essences. Um, Also, if you have any stores, things like that are specific herb stores, that's not very common in like all towns, but if you have like a specific herb store, or I have even found them being sold like here in the city, in like in different in shops that are kind of like very spiritual, like selling crystals and like things like meditation tapes, and then also selling things like flower essences. Um so sometimes, yeah, you just but online, I definitely vouch for like the Flower Essence Society. Um they have great stuff. It's here in the US, so I'm not sure outside of the US, but Flower Essence Society is great. I use a lot of their FES essences myself, and I order them from FES, or if they're carried locally. Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah. Um, yes, I'm in Ontario. Tried to grow garlic from star bulbs in a condo and failed. Wondering what else I can do. Thank you for advice. Yeah, sure. Garlic, yes. I think I had brought this up like a class or two ago, but yeah, I tried. I grew some garlic. Um, I had tried a couple times, and I found I was at first I was watering way too much. So very well draining, well draining soil mix. Have them. I had mine in a western window, so optimal lighting, well draining mix. You don't want that mix to stay like muddy or like really damp for a long amount of time. So you want it to dry fairly quickly. So I would recommend, if you're using like a regular kind of potting mix, a generic potting mix, I would say, if that's like what you have access to, I would say add like some perlite into that mix, kind of in equal parts. So it's like very well draining. It's not holding so much moisture. Um, and I would wait until like leave them on your counter essentially until that green stems just starts popping up. I would say to kind of let them kind of sit, um, and start to sprout before you plant them. So I had a couple that just when I was just kind of planting them before they sprouted, they were not doing well. So I was like, oh, okay, that seems to work better once they've started. But yeah, nice sun, well draining. I was letting them dry before I was watering again. Um, and I had them in terracotta. I was using terracotta. So I wasn't the first couple times I used like nursery pots, and I think that's the mix of watering them too often and the nursery pot that's plastic was holding way too much moisture. So yeah, so that. But yeah, there is a ebook that I have, that's all about like indoor kitchen gardening, I think. Um, I'll try to see if I can find it, and I'll share that out. I'll put that in the recommended reading list. Um, I mean, like in the books that where I actually put the book in there. Um, Let me actually copy that link just in case, for folks, so that you have access to all of to everything. So because there's free resources, there's let's see, view. So just so that you have the link here. So I'm posting it here. Um, this is the link to all of the replays for all these past classes, and there's also folders in there for like recommended reading, like free resources, books, and things like that. There are folders, I think they're all the way at the bottom. So there's like ebooks that I throw in there. So I'll throw in the kitchen one as well, because I think I have one that's like all about kitchen stuff. I actually cut some celery, and I purposely left the bottom, and I cut it on Friday, And I noticed this morning, let's see, I cut it because I was like, oh, maybe I'll do something with it. And I left it and I completely forgot. And we were running around as I mentioned. So Saturday was two baby showers. Saturday was two baby showers. Yesterday we were celebrating a friend's birthday. So I had left it like right um by my sink. And so it's I had cut the celery. I left the bottom because I was like, oh, I'm gonna try to replant it. And look, it's already giving me growth. So it's already growing. Um and I haven't even done anything yet. I haven't put it in water. I haven't done anything, but it's already like I'm gonna push out some growth. Um yeah, I like kitchen scraps that then you can grow back. But yeah. Um Oh, Holly. Yes, some herbs say that many good healing herbs should only be used for 7 days and then stop after 2 weeks at least. Yes. So there are some herbs. So there are different categorizations for herbs, but there's one categorization that you might see. It's called heroic herbs. And yes, hero herbs. I can just like picture like, a plant with like a with a cape, Superman cape, but basically, these heroic herbs, as they're being coined, um, are herbs that pack a punch, but should only be used for a short amount of time. So, like one of these plants, for instance, is yarrow. Yarrow is grown ornamentally. You might know this if you're a gardener and you have yarrow. It's very pretty. It's used ornamentally. Very, very pretty plant. But it's also highly antiseptic. It's an antibiotic. Um, and it also is a hemostatic, which means it stops bleeding, right? And so, as you're growing the plant, you can then dry it and keep it in case, you have any uses for it. But if you're taking it internally, it's very powerful. And so like similar to like it's not like, exactly at the level of a pharmaceutical grade antibiotic. But if it's like for something smaller that doesn't, require like that strong of an antibiotic, um, the yarrow is great. You can, but it's again like an antibiotic, it's killing good stuff too. So you really don't want to take large amounts um, for a long amount of time. And it's usually recommended to only use for about 7 days. Um, because yeah, if you use it more than that, it's really it's starting to hurt your gut a little bit. So it's something you don't want to use every single day. Uh so yeah, the heroic herbs they call them. Um and so that's one of those where it's like you want to use them, sure, you can totally use them, but it's very short term. So it's not a plant that you want to use like make it like your everyday plant to go to. This is the same with like cayenne. Cayenne is can be a very strong antibiotic. Uh, it's recommended to take them in capsules though, because I mean, ugh, imagine like taking spoonfuls of cayenne. Hell no. It can burn it could literally burn your throat. So it usually is put into capsules so that it kind of circumvents this whole thing and and goes straight to the gut. Um, but yeah, and that's something else where you wouldn't want to take very large doses of cayenne for more than 7 days. It is going to aggravate your gut, but it could also be very helpful. But not without some pain. Um, but yeah, and then you wouldn't want to, keep that up. But yeah, there's that's something definitely to consider, yeah. But I mean, hey, plants in general just interest me. So yeah, learning everything about them, plant chemistry, how do they make color, like things like that. There's a book in that list that's called Nature's Palette, and it talks all about the science of plant colors and how they make these colors, why their colors change. Some plants, their color changes. So why is like new growth, why is it sometimes pink and red or orange? Um, or why does it start green and then turn red? Why does it change in the fall? Um, how some plants, to make that blue color, like real blue, not purple, but like real blue, like forget-me-nots, how do they make that blue? And they actually mess with their own pH. Like the plant itself, it's a combination of pH regulation with, like, I think anthocyanins, which is what generates this really beautiful blue color. And the plant is doing that. So it's like that, that definitely interests me, how to use plants, how are plants used culturally. Um, that interests me, how they're used medicinally. How are they grown? Can you keep them in your house? So, so yeah, so you'll find that I like anything plants. Um, yeah, even meanings. Like I have books on even like the Victorian language of flowers, right? How plants were used for communication. So in Victorian times, that was a language. You would give someone a bouquet, and that bouquet would tell them how you felt about them. So maybe you were wishing them well on a journey that they were about to embark upon. Or you have a crush on this person and you're not sure if they feel the same way. Um, you had a fight with your friend and you want to apologize and let them know that they're always in your heart and mind, you know, and you would send these like bouquets and they were coded messages. So yeah, plants in general are really cool to me. So yeah, so when you hang out here with me, you kind of get a mixed bag. It's all plant related though. It's all plant related. Um, yeah. Oh, Holly, that people are producing a whole market of survival supplies, because they predict an impending doom here in the US. I can't afford to pay for any of it because of inflation and everything. Yeah, there's a lot of yeah, there's a whole market of survival supplies. I would definitely say there are things that you can try to take advantage of, like gosh, I don't think it's FEMA, but like the Red Cross. Sometimes these places will actually send like kits, preparedness kits and things that are requested. Um, like sometimes you can take advantage of these like really cool things to stock up. So, things like that. There's also like community programs. Um, maybe I'll see if I can put like a list together. I mean, I would probably only be able to do for the US, um, but yeah, I'd like to do that, like a list of resources for folks that, you can't afford to get some of like this crazy survival supplies. So like what do you do? Because there's options, there's definitely options, but I think just knowing where to look. So I think that's a good list. I should do that. Um, Yes, and that Holly also says comfortable big city living is hazardous to our health. We have to relearn many things that were thrown away in the name of industrialization. Oh, absolutely. Yes. It is insanely disastrous to our health. Gosh, even when I had, I had not known about like things like redlining, which I've brought up in a previous class, like about tree equity and just the even just the way that like things were zoned and like, oh, this is a low income neighborhood, let's put the landfill there, kind of that thinking and policy making. And redlining, that there has been all these studies on you know uh like even in the Bronx, for instance, here in New York City, there's a very high uh issue with asthma, because there's like, the landfill was put there and they burned stuff. Then with all the congestion of the cars, that's not helping us. Um, the limit of green spaces, food access, geez. a lot. And what's crazy too is I was like learning a couple years ago because I partake in a lot of community gardening projects, and a few years ago I had attended this whole class like on like the rise of community gardens, and I didn't realize that. So these community gardens were coming about because of that need for food security, right? People just didn't have access to fresh food. And so they were like, well, there's an empty lot, or there's this park. Let's make it a garden, and then it helps feed the community. But then an inverse effect of what ends up happening is that, wow, there's this now, decades later, and that's what's happening a lot here in New York City, is that these community gardens then they beautify the neighborhood, right? So that means they can raise property values. And then the original community members that formed that community garden now can't afford to live in the community because these places are pushing them out. Um, and then because of rent prices, and then on top of that, sometimes they try to remove the community garden to build property there, because some of these community gardens were kind of not built originally with like the proper permissions or things like that. And so, um, that's what's actually happened with I think the Sixth Street, is it Sixth Street, Elizabeth Street Garden that we have here. They're currently in a couple years now a legal battle, and I think it was delayed because of COVID. Um, but basically, their park, their community garden, part of it sits on the property of like a condo. Um, but the condo wasn't there. It was like it's just like part of the original lot. So the condo went up, and they want to basically build like this other thing over the park and destroy the park. But then the whole reason why all these, developers had come to the area was because of the park. And now they want to kill the park and put another building there. And they say, oh, it's for affordable housing, but they're destroying the park that has beautified the neighborhood and that has made people want to live there in the first place. So they're in a battle because that's what they're basically trying to argue. Like, well, there's no other green spaces here within like a walking distance, and uh, we have trees, plants. It's good for the neighborhood. That's the whole reason why we're here, and why this neighborhood has flourished, and now you want to bulldoze it and put another building. It's just like ugh. Like yeah. Oh, Suzanne, would that work for romaine lettuce? I think with lettuces, I don't I don't know if that would work. I mean, well, I guess with the base, because the base, if it still had roots, that's possible. I've never tried to grow lettuce like that. I've grown lettuce from seed, but I've never tried to grow lettuce like cutting it to the base. So I'm not sure if it would grow, but I would assume if it would have root, let's say if it still had its roots, maybe. I have to look that up. I don't know. I've never tried to grow lettuce like that. Yarrow, can you use it as a poultice? Absolutely. Yes, yarrow can indeed be used as a poultice. Um, it's very commonly used as a spit poultice, which means you would take the yarrow, chew it up, and then put it on the cut. It's also used for nosebleeds where it wasn't even like technically even um it was kind of like you take it and you kind of roll it up and kind of mush it up with your hands, roll it into a ball and put it in your nose. And that was it's also called, like, one of the common names is the nosebleed plant for that reason. Can I help you? Hello? See this guy? Come here. Just don't tip over any plant. If you can come sit with me, but just don't tip any plants over and we'll be fine. Okay. But yeah. Um, Holly, I put a dash of cayenne in teas and ointments. Yes. Cayenne, you can actually make oil, like a massage oil. So you would take, let's say, those little mason jars, like the little jars. So you could take like a half teaspoon of cayenne, a half teaspoon of ginger powder. So these are like powder, ginger powder, cayenne. And then you can cover it in your favorite type of oil. So if you wanted to use jojoba oil or grapeseed almond oil or even olive oil if you like an oilier oil. Almond and grapeseed are very drying oils. Not that they dry your skin, but like they don't leave you with that like oily residue. Jojoba oil, I think, is the closest to your own natural like sebum to your natural like oil. But you can pick your oil of choice. You can kind of fill the rest up, mix it up really well, and let that sit for 24 to 48 hours. And that makes a really good massage oil. So like if you have tend to have like joint pain, like your knees or your ankles, um, yeah, pretty awesome. Suzanne, love learning anything about plants. Yeah, same here. I'm in that house. That school of thought. Holly, and I think the Native Americans had method too of language of herbs. Yeah, definitely. I have a couple books on Native American. There's like on tools, so like using plants and things like for tools. So like specifically with plants. Because even things like using pine pitch. So, you know, pine, if you've ever seen a pine that's been injured or you see like the sap, that's very sticky. It's like crazy glue. If it gets on your hands, like you literally need to use acetone to get it off of your hands. It's very sticky. So that was a very great like bonding agent, like an adhesive. So it was used like for tool making, for like shoes, you know, making as a binding agent, like to stick things together. So using that, um, gosh, there's even a whole thing there's a really great book if you haven't read it. What is it? Braiding Sweetgrass, and where she talks about like that there's this traditional basket making out of ash trees, and so she talks about I think it's in that book that she's talking about that and how they go through the forest and they look for the right ash, um, but that now ash trees are becoming less and less in the United States through because of diseases and introduced beetles and things like that, like the emerald ash borer beetle. So it's killing her ash trees. So she was like talking about that. The author was talking about that and just about the whole process of the basket making. And it's just like this connection that they have with these ash trees and this tradition of basket weaving. Really awesome. But yeah, there's like so much. And I have quite a few. I have quite a few books on like Native Americans and their relationship with plants. So I've been I've been putting that all in there. Um, but yeah. Um, Suzanne, are you familiar with a survival plant guide advertised on YouTube? No, I don't think so. Uh, I don't think so. I definitely like to look that up. No, I don't think I've seen any survival plant guides advertised on YouTube. I know I did see a couple years ago there was this one book. I think it's called the Lost Remedies book or something. I think it's called that. And it was being like thrown in my face. It was everywhere. It was all over social media. It was coming up on ads. It was everywhere. And I finally said, screw it. Let me just get the book and check it out. And I was pretty disappointed. So one, the formatting of the book was very subpar. But the some of the pictures of the plants were the wrong pictures for the plants. Um, and some of the information was like copy and pasted from other books. I was very disappointed. So that's why I was kind of like, when I got approached about this book, but then it's Harper Collins, like it's like this publishing company, and I was like, oh no, that's a legit publishing company. Um, so so yeah, but so I get wary. when I see certain things like with a lot of advertisement, because I'm like, eh. And now you have to be very careful with the rise of AI. There are people that are putting out, that's a really real thing that's happening. I know I mentioned it before, but because I did a whole class on scams, where I was mentioning that that's what prompted me to do the class again on scams, because yeah, like um, geez, the fear, that someone is out there making like AI generated um books like on plants and mushroom identification, for instance. So the AI is pulling from information, but you don't know if all that information is vetted and true, backed up, and then that's being put um, into something where it could be very faulty information about how to identify the plant and, or mushroom, and then people are putting this into their mouth. They are, that's very dangerous. Um, and the person who's doing it doesn't know anything about it, but they're just generating them and putting them out, and it could just inflict a lot of harm. So that's not cool. Um, like that, and yeah, so it's like ID books and reference books to different herbs that you have to be very careful, because it looks like they're being generated by AI, and they might not, they're not like vetted. Like the person didn't like double check to make sure that this information is accurate, and they're publishing them and putting them out, especially like on Amazon. Um, and there's also apparently that people were even generating AI books and then putting an established author's name on the book. So it looks like they wrote the book, but they didn't. Um, scary times, scary times. Like, like yeah. Um, Priscilla, yeah, the book may have resources, hopefully some free and less costly for survival items. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Suzanne, how do they define affordable housing? That's a great question. Yes. Yes. There is Brian and I were actually looking at this over the weekend, because uh there's like this, like that there's condos that are available for like lottery and for affordable housing, right? And when we were looking just out of curiosity, because we are like, oh, how what is the criteria? Apparently, it's like there's one place where affordable housing for them is that the couple, like if it's two people, have to make um no more. They have to like they have to make $145,000 um to qualify for the affordable housing, and that the rent is $2,500 a month. And I was like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about? That is crazy. How is that affordable housing? I understand New York City, it's expensive, but even that's a lot. That's a lot. Like, geez. Yeah, Priscilla, we have affordable housing in the Bronx with rents over $2,000 for a studio. Hilarious. Yep, yep. Holly, although housing should be affordable, no one wants but these deciders choose to create affordable housing, not tall buildings without outdoor space, allowing for families to relax. Absolutely, absolutely. I'll try to find the name of the book next time it's advertised. Yes, thanks, Suzanne. And let me know. Let me know. And Holly, yes, Priscilla, $2,000. That is pretty messed up. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Priscilla, I heard about the books being generated with AI. My daughter's a book collector. I told her to be careful. Yes. Oh, yes. Especially, yeah. And again, because some of these books are being kind of listed as if they are being written by certain authors. So, like, go onto the author's website, verify that they did indeed write that book. Um, because, yeah, some of these, and I think one author, I'm forgetting her name, but she had I think two or three books, and all of a sudden like a bunch of AI books lists were being put with her name, and they were being attached to her as like author on Amazon. And so she went to Amazon. She's like, I didn't write these books. Like, why am I attached to this? They get this off my list. And they were like, oh, there's nothing that they could do. And she had like a bunch of people on social media basically calling them out, and then they actually fixed it. So they only got they only fixed it because they got a lot of attention. But um but hey, that's scary. Scary stuff. Um but yeah, I mean, you know, there's just all this stuff going on, and I think, making sure that that the knowledge is accessible to everyone. So that's it. Yes, it's all about the money. Yes, Priscilla. Yeah, unfortunately. Um, yeah, and so it's just scary. So it's like, yes, AI could be used for so many good things, but then it can be used pretty incorrectly, right? So, um, yeah, it's not it's a scary times, scary times, as I said. But yeah, but trying to gather up, a good quality information. And that's what I'm hoping to continue to keep working on, and if anyone, yeah, is interested, reach out. I'll drop my email in here. You can reach out to this one, the Jocelyn at urbangarden.eco. And let me know, or in the Facebook group, I'll put up like a post. So if anybody is interested in helping with this list that I'm building, and no, you definitely get credit for helping, of course. And I yeah, I guess with more help, I can definitely make it happen faster. Um, but and then of course, everyone, I'm more than happy, like, everyone can get access to these ebooks. I have no problem with that. I can share that out. Uh, but yeah, just to kind of get some more information on there. I would love to do that and try to get that. What I'm gonna do for Herbalists Without Borders is I'm gonna basically put essentially what I have now, maybe minus a couple things, but what I have now for them to start, so that I kind of have something like for them to look at, for the members and stuff to look at. Um, and then I'll continue kind of adding to my list, and then what I'll do is I'll do like a big update, so that there's more, um, for them, so that I can kind of keep them mirrored, so that I can offer it to for folks on my website, but then it's also something that, yeah, that they can share. And I'm also like putting things, names of the plants in different languages as well. So if anybody here speaks other languages that would like to help with that, like how maybe you might call like the plant something completely different, um, so that is great. Um, oh, that's so cool. So Gabby says, thanks for sharing about the Victorian flower language. I teach a class on semiotics in visual culture, and this is great info to add. I'm researching it now. Yes. There's the Victorian language of flowers. And then there's two fiction books that came out about languages of flowers. One is called The Lost Language of Flowers. By an American author. Yeah. Last I think is Jeanette Hughes or something like that. Jeanette? I feel like it's Jeanette. But it's like The Lost Language of Flowers. It's a fiction book, but it talks about the Victorian language of flowers. Really great book. I love that book. And then there is The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart, which was actually just made into a series, I think, on Amazon Prime, which was great. Brian and I watched it. Have the book too. The book is okay. The book is okay. I will say that. It's you can enjoy it. It's not that it's not enjoyable, but I feel that I really preferred how the show uh kind of portrayed the story. I really like what they did with the show. So if I like compare like the book to the show, I actually really like the show a lot more than I like the book. But the book is really good, and it's all about the Australian language of flowers, but I think she made up this language for the book. So it's not like I don't think it's like a real language, Australian language. But yeah. Um, yeah. And Holly, did you send us the Victorian language or the lost language? No, no, I don't think I have those in PDFs, but I can try to look. I'll try to see if I can find PDF versions of like the Victorian language of flowers, and so that I can share that out. Yeah, because those are fun. Those are fun. Um, I think I did put in that list of books with I'm resharing the Dropbox link. So it's like all the replays, and then at the bottom it's like books. And there is a book in there by Scott Cunningham, um that's all about the, I think it's called the Encyclopedia of Herbs, and it's all about plants, and it talks about like all associations, deities, beliefs that people thought, like what they're associated with, um like with like protection and love and things like that, with all these different plants, which are really cool. um yes, Scott Cunningham, the Encyclopedia of Herbs, I think it's called. And yes, that book is in there, is a PDF in there. Buddy, what are you doing? Come here. Come on. So if you want to check that out, come here, Maple. Yeah, meow to you too. Come here. You're the one climbing up there. You could have just come on the chair. Boy, I just don't want him to bring down my plants. He keeps deciding to jump on that little shelf there. But yeah. And Suzanne, would the books you want us to review be available for free? Yeah, 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 absolutely. I have them. So the books that I want to be reviewed, yeah, they're these are the ones that I have as PDF. Um, so they are all indeed available for free. So, and what we could do is we can assign certain books to certain people, but you would all have access to those books, and you can download them and keep them. So that's totally fine. So I found them for free online. So sometimes they're just like available, like through sometimes Archive or through different websites. You just the book is there. Like you just Google the book PDF, and sometimes these books are available like that for free. And it's not like those fishy kind of weird sites. It's just like a university or something might have it available for free. Sometimes it's like limited time, so I like to grab it. But yeah, so so that yeah, absolutely. Those are free. Free, 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 free. You get a book. You get a book. So, so yeah, you get to, yeah, and any of these, and like the ones I did add here to that folder that I just, the link I shared in the Dropbox, um those, those are free, so feel free, download them. And I'm gonna add more. I have a bunch of like botany books and stuff too that I'll throw in there. uh so yeah, 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 they're free, no worries. But all right. um about to be 1:30. I'm feeling my throat's kind of giving out on me here, but thank you so much, everyone. Seriously, I'm really excited. I'm really excited that I get to be able to share my love of plants with you all. Uh, and that you tune in to just talk. I really appreciate that, um, and I'm just excited to share all these like projects. It's been a really rough couple, like this last year I have to say has been really rough, taking on the responsibilities with Herbalists Without Borders. um it's just like, geez, yeah, it's been a lot. uh but yeah, I'm excited. There's like all these things coming up, projects coming up, and big changes, and I'm feeling very optimistic. I think for some time I was a little like way too overwhelmed, and now it's like, yes, I'm still overwhelmed but much more optimistic. I rather be here. Well, I rather be here where I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Um so yeah, no, I appreciate it, and thank you, seriously. Oh, Synth, I'm glad you think so. And Terry. Um, and in the background, I've been trying to work on my houseplant book. It's been, I was actually discussing a chapter outline with Brian on Saturday. So I think it's very important to also, because I'm talking in the book about assessing yourself, right? Like what kind of plant person you are. And I know I mentioned this part of it a few months ago, but basically how you want to assess who you are realistically. And sometimes, because sometimes you're like, I really want that begonia. And you really wish you could be the type of person that could keep that begonia alive. Or you like to think of yourself like, yeah, I could totally make sure that I'm on top of it and I'm checking it every couple days, making sure it doesn't dry out and I can keep it happy. But then let's say realistically, you're working 12-hour shifts, you're super tired when you get home. Um, it's going to be very easy for you to miss, something with that plant that needs a little bit more attention. So at that time, that's not the best plant to get. Especially if you're the only one checking on it, especially, right? Um, so I'm kind of like talking about really pairing yourself with the plant and understanding and making sure because that's how you end up losing money, right? You purchase a plant, it's way more responsibility than you expected. And yeah, you're kind of drowning because now, oh man, I can't keep up with all of these demands and you're terrified your plant is gonna die because you can't give it the attention it needs. Um, so like talking about that, but then it was really important to also talk about, sometimes how about people who really want to have houseplants, but they may suffer from depression or have issues with like executive function. Maybe they're neurodivergent or they suffer from chronic illness, you know? Um, so like what then? What does what does house plant keeping look like to those people? And what are like certain things to keep in mind, like establishing maybe having an accountability partner or a support system or getting plants that don't need that much attention or systems that you can create like setting up reservoirs so that you wouldn't have to bottom water each plant individually but rather kind of bottom watering. It's like work just to set it up and then it's like pretty easy going after that. So it's like just like stuff like that and like different tips and things for those types of situations because maybe plants really make you happy but you're struggling and so how can you balance the two and still enjoy plants. So yeah, little by slowly I've been working on my book, way slower than I want, way slower than I want, but I keep trying. So but thank you everyone, seriously. Yeah, my voice is like eh. um but thank you so much and I seriously appreciate it. Yes. Suzanne, choosing between plants and pet safety, that's a whole other thing. Absolutely, right? um understanding that there are some plants that are really really toxic and they might look really pretty and you really want them, but like how can you make a safe decision if let's say you don't have like another room that you can put the plant in or something like that. So but yeah, so excited. I just want to keep sharing with all of you. So thank you so much. Yes, I will take care of myself. It's like congestion and my throat is like super dry. So I'm gonna have some chicken soup. So Maple, can I help you? He keeps jumping off the seat and then coming right back. Come on. Yes, hello. Come over here. He's like tapping my arm. Just come and sit here. But yes, Holly, the plants are my pets. Yes. Plants are totally pets. Maple, look at this. Can you see his little arm? I'm gonna give you attention. I'm gonna give you attention. Give me one moment. But yes, thank you. Yes, keep warm. Absolutely. Gonna have some chicken soup. Make sure I stay nice and hydrated. And hopefully I'm all good to go. I hope it doesn't get any worse than this. But thank you so much, everyone. Seriously, it's always a joy I really appreciate it. And yeah, please have a great rest of your Monday. I hope your week is off to a good start. Oh yeah, daylight savings. So I hope it's off to a good start. And yeah, stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you next Monday. Have a great one, everyone. Yes, Maple, I'm here. I'm here. Bye, everyone.